Kim Davis was a clerk for the DMV, or the driver's license department in Kentucky.
That wasn't issuing.
Yeah, she wouldn't
licenses?
issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Yeah. She thought she had a First Amendment right to religion.
No.
Right?
Not in a state job.
Not in a job, right?
Not in a state job, no.
If she would have quit and said, I can no longer do this job because of my religious convictions, that would be fine. But
fine.
Because of what she did, she ended up in jail.
In the position of the state to say, the state is offended by this because I worked for the state.
So you see, you can't have both rights and privileges.
Yeah.
Right? And she ended up in jail because of it. She lost her qualified immunity. And if the feds want to step in and charge her with a federal felony of deprivation of rights, that could carry a 20-year prison sentence. Yeah. Right? It's a big deal. Yeah. Right? So, like, you might have your beliefs, but if they conflict with the Constitution has to win out. Yeah. Right? And so that's why, it's clear that police officers don't have rights.
I try to have a libertarian mindset. If we're not messing with each other...
I don't know what a libertarian mindset is. I don't know what that means.
Well, my idea of a libertarian mindset is my daily life should not interfere with your daily life. And we should all be able to get along in that manner.
Well, you mean like if you weren't a police officer?
In general.
Just like citizens on the street?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I agree, right? But have a job to do that they paid you to do.
I don't think the state should be offended as often as the state is.
The state's always offended. They need a box of Kleenex, man, to wipe their tears. Like, oh, their license plate was dirty. Oh, they didn't use a signal. Oh, they didn't walk in a crosswalk. It's endless. Yeah. Right? Whereas the real crimes are getting, missed.
But if the person that's doing one of those minor infractions that's an offense to the state, and they happen to match the description of somebody that you'd like to talk to, or you may have seen a video of doing something, now you have a reason to stop and talk to that person, right?
You do. You do.
You have a lawful reason.
I'm not saying it's not legal.
Minor offense by the state.
I'm not saying it's not legal to do this. There are laws that have been written, right, and persons have to follow those laws.
That's how I generally try to use those petty laws that are against the state, is to create that contact where I think this person might have been involved in something else. Now I have a legal reason to create a contact with them where they need to at least give me their name, date of birth, and identifying information. And if they're willing to talk with me beyond that, that's fantastic too. But at least I can use that petty law to potentially uncover what could have been another reported crime.
Well, all right, since we're talking about a petty law, let's talk about jaywalking. Do you think that it's jaywalking to walk across the street right here?
Walking directly across the street, no. Walking in diagonal.
Diagonal is a no-go. That's right.
Right.
But why is it not jaywalking here? Do you know the law?
No, I actually don't know how the law is written verbatim.
Well, you have to be between two adjacent stoplights that are in working order. Okay. And that, by adjacent, that means there's no intersections in between. Okay. So every one of these driveways is an intersection. Okay. Right? So somebody can turn left in a car, they can drive straight across too. Yeah. Right? Yeah. If there's, a straight across intersection, they could drive straight across. There's lots of intersections in between that light and this light. Okay. But also the street lights have to be in working order. Okay. Yeah. Right? But I'm glad that's not but diagonally, like from here all the way to there or something, not some little tiny diagonal.
Right. Especially on a road this busy.
But actually the diagonal thing is meant for in the center. Like if you're at that corner and you walk from this corner to the kitty corner diagonal one, not really so much like in here. Here you're just not supposed to block traffic. Yeah. If you block traffic, that would be jaywalking.
I mean, if you're walking diagonal across the intersection 2 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody around.
Yeah, there's nobody around.
Guy to stop you from doing that. If you're walking diagonal at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when there's 10,000 cars going by per hour, I'm probably going to stop you because you're probably going to get hit.
Well,
and that would be...
Yeah, if you're blocking if somebody has to stop for you, right, that didn't want to stop, you know what I mean, then you've obstructed traffic. Yeah. But if you've gotten across safely and nobody even had to slow down or anything, then you haven't.
You got it.
Right, but you're not the officer that we're worried about.
Well, I'm glad.
Right? The worst enemy of good cops is bad cops.
Absolutely.
Right? And Officer
Their
Chin,
voice is a lot louder
he's a
because
bad
it's all
cop.
over the media.
He's a bad cop, man.
Okay.
Officer Chin.
You don't like him?
Well, I don't know him, but I know that he just tried to give unlawful orders to one of the people on a sidewalk, man, and that's just ridiculous. I own that sidewalk.
Is it an unlawful order to ask you to move along?
It is when you tell them to, or that they'll be arrested.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Okay.
If,
I obviously wasn't there for the interaction, right? So I don't know what happened.
Right, but I mean, why would you even ask them to?
Okay.
If it's not in order, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Right? You're here to enforce laws, not to, make suggestions, right? Like, you don't go up to them and be like, see them right there?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go up to them and be like, hey, don't jaywalk, or, don't fall in any donut holes, don't eat any yellow snow.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't just go give warnings for no reason.
Right.
Right? There'd have to be a reason.
There's no lights on those bikes.
Right. Well, a bike is a privilege to ride that bike, right? Being on feet is not a privilege; it's a right.
Yeah.
To press on, to assemble forth,
I
to
think it should be a
legion
right
about.
to be on a bike if you figured out how to ride a bike, but it's.
Well, I mean,
everybody's a little bit different.
I don't want to get into the whole thing about that, but like when you get into, more than you're capable of doing on your own power, or any human is capable of doing. Like, we can walk at 3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
We can maybe run at 6 miles an hour, right? Or, 10 miles an hour. Probably the record's like 15. But, if you're running, right, you run into somebody, I guess you'd be responsible for that.
Yeah.
Right? But on a bike, it's really easy to be going a lot faster.
Right.
The same in a car.
Yeah.
Right? So you start getting superhuman abilities.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a privilege.
That's fair.
You see what I'm saying?
I gotcha.
And so then I think that's why constitutionally, right, it's allowed to regulate things like cars and
laws are
bikes.
Laws ultimately are there to try and make a civil society.
Yeah, a civil society.
And sometimes those laws feel like a constraint on our civil liberties. So I think that the citizens, conversation, right?
The citizens do feel that way, and that's because they also think they have rights, just like you thought you had rights. But they don't either. They want to be in society. They want privileges. They like them.
Rights have an end because there's things we want to do.
The people have rights because they're willing to die on the hill. Right? There's very few people. I'm one of the people.
Yes,
Martin Luther King was one of the people.
Yes, sir.
Jesus was a perfect example of one of the people. I'm not a perfect example, just more perfect.
We all fall short.
Right? But what I'm saying is that, see, he didn't resist being crucified. Mm-hmm. He didn't assist. Right? He didn't crucify himself.
Yeah.
But he didn't resist, and he was secure in his beliefs.
Yeah.
As the story is told.
Yeah,
right? I'm not saying, real or not real.
Yeah.
Right? But as the story's told. Mm-hmm. You see, so he lives on.
Yeah.
Right? Because the people never die. Right? But like Martin Luther King lives on through, Martin Luther King Day and through because he was peaceable.
Yeah.
Right? The people have a right to peaceably assemble.
Yep.
Right? So that's the only qualifier placed upon the people, is they have to be peaceable, which is another clue that you're not one of the people, because you don't have to be peaceable. You only have to be reasonable. You only have to be reasonable. You don't have to be peaceable.
Okay.
Right? And citizens don't have to be peaceable. They only have to be reasonable. If they have justifiable reasons as to why they breached the peace in defense of their life or in somebody else's life, then they can breach the peace.
Yep.
But the people cannot. No amount of reasons will justify the people breaching the peace, which is why there's no Malcolm X Day.
Yeah.
There's a Martin Luther King Day because he was peaceful.
Yeah.
But Malcolm X wanted to be reasonable. And he said it's reasonable, for us to use violence for our what he knew and called privileges.
Yeah.
Right? He knew that they were not fighting for rights.
Yeah.
Okay, they were, because people have rights. Like Kunta Kinte, ever heard of him?
Yeah.
He was in the movie Roots.
Yes.
Right? He was one of the people. He was not a slave. He would not say his name was Kobe or Toby, right? he was what he was, you know. He didn't care. He took the whipping and accepted the reality, right? He wasn't going to give up his right to speech in order for a privilege of you know, some comfort.
Yeah.
Right? If you're willing to give up your rights for comfort, then you don't have rights.
Yeah.
You have comfort until you lose it, because there's no guarantees. Yeah. Right? To think that like you can have safety.
What is it? If you give up your rights for comfort, you deserve neither?
Yeah, for temporary comfort or something. But yeah, that's the phrase, you know. And it's true, right? But it doesn't exactly say in that phrase that if you you know, have comfort, you also don't have rights.
Yeah.
You see, because rights are not comfortable. Right? They're actually very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, it makes everybody uncomfortable when I throw a protest.
Yep.
Right? That's the point of it. That's the power of the people.
Yeah.
Right? Free speech is uncomfortable. If you want to get along, then you have to bite your tongue.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be willing to compromise.
Yeah.
Right? The people don't compromise. Otherwise, they would be compromised.
Fair enough.
Right? And if you're not free, you're not free. So if you're charging for your services like you are, getting a paycheck, or, you know, everybody that has a job, they're charging, they're not free.
Right.
So therefore, they're not free.
Everybody's bound to something.
Well, not the people. The people have no binding.
Okay.
Right? They're on their hill. Nobody's stopping them from getting off of the hill. In fact, everybody wants them to get off the hill until they do, and then they're like, oh man, I'm so sad. Right? That you lost your way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what they would say.
Okay.
Right? Like Ukraine and Russia right now. Okay?
Yeah.
See, we're having a moral crisis in this country, but they're trying to buy righteousness. Right? You have to buy it at the gas pump. I can afford to be a little righteous right now, some would say, right? Because they're doing good in their job, they have savings, so they can afford to pay more at the gas pump, right? And inflation, you know, not just at the gas pump, it's everywhere. I mean, Taco Bell, just a few months ago, I remember you could get the combo box that had 4 beefy burritos and 4 crunchy tacos, and it was $9.99, and today it was 17 something.
What?
That's serious inflation, man.
Holy cow. I haven't been to Taco Bell in a few years, but that sounds wild.
That's serious inflation.
Yeah, for Taco Bell especially.
Yes.
I don't think Taco Bell's prices have adjusted in the past 20 years.
Not that much. I mean, that's like 70% jump.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's huge, and you know, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
well,
I appreciate you talking to me.
You mind if I get your name?
Oh, it's not nice to call people names.
Okay.
You see, and this is more to the point.
You,
well, you can call me people, but you don't have to call me anything.
Okay.
We've been talking all this time, and you haven't called me any names, right?
I've called you
people
sir.
Is not my name. Well, that's a title, and I don't take any titles either, right?
Okay.
You have a title like officer.
Sure.
Right, and that means you're entitled. And entitled is another word for privilege.
Okay.
Right? A title is an ownership. It's a deed of ownership. Like a car has a title, a boat has a title, a house has a title, and a police officer has a title too. Because you're bought and paid for. That's the receipt.
Yeah.
You see, when citizens call you officer, it's not out of respect. It's reminding you that we own your ass.
I gotcha.
Okay, right? Like that's the receipt, your name tag.
I gotcha.
Right, but for a lot of years, we haven't talked to you this way. Right? Because, you know, we wanted to look up to you guys, right? Like the Matt Dillons and the, you know, Andy and Mayberry, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we were taught to respect you guys, right? But now it's all changing, right? But respect was extra. In addition to the paycheck, we didn't have to give it.
Yeah.
Right? But now officers expect it.
Yeah.
When I walk up and film, an officer is
among all of us.
Yeah, an officer thinks, oh, well, he's used to everybody avoiding him while he's on a traffic stop and giving him some huge bubble of safety around him. And now that's all ending.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can take away your privileges of respect. Right? When we see you at Starbucks, we can point our camera and point at you.
Yep.
We can put you on YouTube and humiliate you, right?
Yep.
And that's the power of revoking privileges. That's all we can do.
If we're humiliated on camera, we're doing something wrong on the other end of that camera.
I would think so. Right? Yeah, I would think so. But, that's the court of public opinion.
That's fair.
Right? And the people have that, but they, they don't have the court of law.
Correct.
Right? Like, since I don't believe in names, I'll think of all the things that require a name in order to get. I can't get those.
Yeah.
Right? No stimulus check for me.
Gotcha.
Right? No getting on an airplane.
Yeah.
No driver's licenses. No address.
Yep.
Right? All those things. See, I was willing to give those up so that I could press, so that I could assemble in legion and speech. Okay. Right? And be secure. Because nobody can take those away.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. But I have to be peaceable.
Yes, sir.
Right? 100% of the time.
Be peaceable, right?
Well, I think everybody thinks that that's a great idea until they feel threatened, and then all of a sudden they're willing to throw out their righteousness and throw punches instead, right? And peace leads to peace, but violence leads to violence.
Being able to do violence does not mean you're a non-peaceable person.
There's no non-peaceable persons. I mean, peaceable persons. Persons are reasonable. Okay, you have to be reasonable, right? So in this day and age, it's reasonable to think that we can have a police force that can kill somebody for escaping jail. Okay, just on sight. Yeah. Right? In the back. Right? That's reason you can do that. You know that, right?
Jail?
Yes. If you escape custody, then you're
shoot you.
Yes, you can.
I wouldn't be pulling that trigger.
Well, don't. But I'm just saying. I wouldn't recommend it.
If the court says you can do something, you have to be able to live with yourself.
Doesn't mean you have to do it. Yeah. But I'm saying legally, right? Yeah. It's reasonable. Now, it's reasonable for us to have a military.
If you're a threat to the community or myself, and you're fleeing, then that changes the perspective. But just simply fleeing in and of itself is not.
Well, the rationale is that you already know that if they've been convicted. I could be wrong that it's not just somebody escaping from jail, but I think it is, but it might be prison, right? If they're a violent
if you're
fleeing felon.
You're a fleeing felon.
Yeah.
And you're.
So you don't even have to be, escaping
there is an
custody.
addendum to that. You have to be a threat to the officer or the public if you continue
your pursuit. Oh, so like if they're going 200 miles an hour or something.
If they're running and they have a knife on them, they have a gun on them, something like that, they just got done committing a felony, and they're likely to do another egregious act.
Well, escaping jail is a felony.
But simply fleeing jail is a felony.
I mean, it's not a violent felony. No. Not always.
No, so I could send a dog for that. But I'm not going to pull the trigger just because somebody's running after they got out of a chain gang or something.
That's another story, man. Yeah. I think you guys are going to lose dogs.
That's a long.
You guys are going to lose dogs in the near future, I think, because
hope not.
They
do good work.
No, you guys abuse them outrageously.
How do you think that? Let me ask you why you think that.
Oh, because I've just seen too many videos of dumbass officers that don't know how to control their dog, right? And
I agree. There's
and they
a lot
just
of videos
unleash
that I've seen of poor training with poor canine officers.
Yeah, well,
but I think we do a very good job here with our canine.
I'm not saying in Ocala specifically you're going to lose your dogs. I'm saying the court's going to rule that you guys have abused the dogs, right? That you are not capable of using that kind of force in a reasonable manner.
Well,
anymore,
that'll be up to
right?
court to decide that if they determine.
I hope they do.
I don't like blanket statements because a blanket statement covers a good and a bad person the same.
Yeah, well, when we see a pattern, of cops misusing dogs, right, and just letting them chew on suspects for cuffed in their.
Do you think officers abuse tasers?
I think that tasers are pretty ineffective for the most part.
Do you think officers abuse their asp?
Their asp? I haven't seen a whole lot on that. I don't think most officers are reaching for their asp a lot. Maybe it just doesn't get publicized.
So,
but I have no thoughts on the asp for that reason.
Back to how we're trained.
Yeah.
A little fast. So I feel a lot of officers rely too heavily on this, Because they don't know what to do with these.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with their hands, right? And these new cops, right, are never willing to just fight.
If you don't train, if you don't run, if you don't take care of yourself, and you're not prepared to get into a physical altercation with somebody, which is part of our job, and you're depending on this to save your life, and this doesn't work for some reason,
because they're very ineffective.
Really, yes, I've had
malfunction
them fail
a lot,
multiple times.
Yeah.
I wear it because I have to.
That officer just went to jail for murder for confusing her taser with her gun.
She pulled her gun. And
yeah.
That boy. Yep.
And some like have one in each hand. Oh my God, that's the dumbest thing ever, to have a taser in one hand and a gun in the other.
World ending because you thought you pulled your taser.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to believe, and I don't think the jury believed that either, which is why she went to jail, because they weigh so much different. They feel different. They're different on so many ways.
When your adrenaline's up here, it goes down to muscle memory.
Muscle memory, right.
If you don't train for that stuff, I'm not paying attention to what colors here. They feel very similar. They're functioned by a trigger in the same manner. So when I go taser, 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 I just know it's going to be this motion, which is why a lot of departments don't allow a draw from the same side. So if you're drawing from here, if you're drawing from here, that's a matter of inches. If I'm drawing from here, it's a matter of about a foot, right?
Yeah, it's actually, that could cost you your life, that extra moment,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that every officer is that way, right? But we have 1 million officers.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not possible to have that size of a force that is capable of doing this job.
Yeah.
Right? It's an impossible job anyway.
It's a job filled with humans, and we're all susceptible to being the human condition.
Yes, except that you've sworn an oath to do something that goes against human condition, right? Which is to serve and protect others, which you cannot
part
do.
Of some people's human condition.
Right? Like, let's say that somebody was threatening me, threatening my life, pointing a gun at me, and you walked in between us, right, and risked your life to protect mine. Well, I'm actually now a prisoner, because if I move, then you're not protecting me anymore.
If I hide behind a rock, am I a prisoner to the rock?
No, yes.
Or am I using that to my advantage?
No, if you're hiding, the people have nothing to hide from. I feel like that's part of the victim
mentality, using something that benefits you and calling that a crutch.
No, I'm saying that, okay, if you standing in front of me, somebody pointing a gun at me, and I move, then you're not protecting me anymore.
No.
Right? So if I want to rely on your protection, right? If I'm like, officer, protect me, get in front.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of, me trying to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, find cover of my own, or move, or, be a smaller target, right? Well, like try and distract.
If I choose to step between you and a bad thing, you're still free behind me to move to a better position to cover or whatever, but it was my choice to put me between you and the bad thing.
Yeah, but I'm not free to move if I am thinking that only you can protect me.
Moving.
No, it's either I protect myself and run and take my chances, or I let you protect me. Right? The idea of
still the choice. That's freedom.
Right, there's a choice. The framers understood there was a choice. You don't have to be one of the people.
Yeah.
You can be a person and be in privilege land and have the privilege to call 911. Right? And have you guys come out and save the day instead of, just handling it yourself.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we'll just give up our guns and give them to the police because they'll protect us, when in reality you're drawing chalk outlines most of the time. You don't actually witness the crime.
Yeah.
You get the point, though, right? Yeah. You're getting there after the fact.
Very few times we actually witness crime. We respond to a crime that happened.
Yeah, you respond
most
to
of
it.
The time.
Right? Yeah. And if, society isn't willing to take care of their own situations, right? If they're going to cry and scream about drunk driving, but yet they don't disown anybody for being a drunk driver. I've never heard of anybody losing a friend over drunk driving. But yet everybody rages on about how terrible it is. Meanwhile, they're friends with endless drunk drivers and don't give a shit, right? See, so they don't really care. Now, take a sex offender, a pedophile, they really care about that. Society really cares. And you'll lose your friends if you do something like that. You know what I'm saying? So society is capable of policing for themselves if they want to, but they don't really want to, right? But they want deniability, so they hire all these police officers and call you guys out for every suspicious thing. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I saw suspicious. There's a suspicious car. Really? How is it suspicious?
Well, it's not normally there. I know these neighborhoods, and that car's not there.
Yeah, well, it's there now. That's not a crime, right? And every day officers are responding to those as if they're crimes.
Yeah.
Right? Demanding ID and
we have to
escalating.
tell a lot of people a lot of times it's a civil issue. There's no there's no unlawful acts going on.
Right. The same with filming. A lot of times citizens don't like me filming.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, I don't just film citizens. I film the police. But if you're on a stop, sometimes they don't like to be filmed. I mean, maybe they're not where they're supposed to be.
Citizens than you will officers being filmed.
Oh, no.
No?
No.
Okay.
No. It should be that way because citizens didn't take an oath.
Yeah.
Right? They're not. I don't expect them to know the Constitution.
A lot of people expect privacy even out in public.
Even out in public, they do have a misconception that you can be in public and in private at the same time.
Yeah. I'm having a private conversation. Well, welcome to our public.
Yeah, not anymore. Yeah. It was private. You know, if two peeps are standing there having a private conversation, you know, they have a reasonable expectation of privacy as long as nobody's within earshot.
Yeah.
Right? But like say this car has some secret audio recorder right there, well then they are violating their privacy. Right? That's wiretapping. If it's a secret audio, unless one person in that conversation...
Every law is different when it comes to recording private conversations.
Well, okay, there's one-party consent states.
I honestly don't know.
And there's two-party consent
Ohio is
states.
a single consent state.
Yeah.
I moved down here in September from Ohio, so I'm still transitioning and getting used to a lot of Florida's verbiage in their laws.
I'll tell you, it's a single-party consent state.
Okay.
But in a single-party consent state, right now we're having a conversation. Okay, I don't see anybody around. Okay, so I have, you know, I'm recording.
Yeah.
Right? And I could be secretly recording, and that's okay, even your audio, because one of us knows that there's a recording going on. But if that car, or, well, I don't know about your car.
You have to prove intent that was their intention to record.
If they're recording audio, no, you don't.
Okay.
If they're recording audio, I mean, just recording it is not really the crime.
Cars have dash cams with motion sensors. My car does. My
Oh,
personal.
no, you can record video.
Yeah.
Just not the audio.
Well, my dash cam in my car, if you walk in front of it, it'll automatically start recording.
Anytime somebody walks in front of a police car?
No, my personal car. Because I've been skipped a couple times. I've been hitting parking lots since I moved down here, so I put that in there to make sure that if somebody does hit my car or I get into an accident, that I have my own self covered, that I wasn't doing anything wrong. It's going to support my statements. Here's the video officer.
Well, if you're recording audio, you're wiretapping.
Okay.
But the video, no.
Yeah.
Like you'll see in businesses, they can record your...
I don't honestly know that it records audio. I think...
Now, if you put a sign on your car that says video and audio recording...
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you're covered.
Honestly,
because then you're giving...
audio. I think it does. I'm pretty sure it does. But I don't... Yeah.
Then you would be giving notice.
Yeah.
Right? With a sign.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And just that simple sticker that says, you know, video and audio recording is all you need. But if you got it, if somebody hits you, right, and you couldn't see them, but they're saying, you know, who they are, right, or giving some incriminating details or something that can help you find them, and you use that audio to find them.
I'm sorry,
it's
man.
probably going to get thrown out.
5 years today. I didn't mean to hit you. Thanks.
I mean, probably they're not going to know the law.
Yeah.
But, you know, if they did know that was wiretapping, then, yeah, that is wiretapping.
Okay.
Right? Just the audio part of it.
Never heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Officer
I'm gonna
McGee,
take off.
you do what you do.
You're not nice talking.
You're not detained. You're free to go.
All right. You enjoy your evening. Okay?
You too. Thank you. Press harder now. But Officer Chin, man, do you know who his sergeant is?
Sergeant Lawrence.
Is that your sergeant too?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Sergeant Lawrence. Let him know, man.
Okay.
Your sergeant.
Absolutely.
All right, because like I said, I've had nothing but good experiences with the Ocala PD.
That's great.
But I knew there was going to be a tyrant eventually.
Well, we've all got different personalities, but I'll certainly bring it up, okay?
All right, yeah. Thank you. Press harder now. Right.